As we mentioned in the last video, you are so much more than a product of biology. You are part of the grand Creator's creation. It helps to know who your Creator is because that will inform your purpose. This Creator, God, created you with good intentions for your life. And a relevant jump-off point for understanding true purpose in life is to take an inventory of various life pursuits that end up being dead ends. A case study for these dead-end pursuits is found in a book of the Bible called Ecclesiastes. In that specific book, there's a great king who wrestles with the purpose of life. And he's somewhat depressed by this, what seems to be a meaningless cycle of people being born, they work hard during their life, and then they die. And the cycle simply repeats itself. So the king had an idea. He decided to be his own lab rat. And he tried out these various pursuits and these pleasures, hoping to find some kind of meaning or some kind of pleasure or satisfaction that would last. He indulged in any and everything that his eyes desired. He acquired great knowledge, he drank excessively, he accumulated great wealth, he built an elaborate kingdom, and he took any woman that he wanted. But his conclusion, after every indulgence, after living the good life, as we would call it, his conclusion points to his own emptiness. This is what he writes in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 9. He says, "I became great, I increased more than all who preceded me in Jerusalem. My wisdom also stood by me. All that my eyes desired, I did not refuse them. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure, for my heart was pleased because of all my labor, and this was my reward for all my labor. So I considered all my activities which my hands had done, the labor which I had exerted, and behold, all was vanity. It was striving after wind. There was no profit under the sun." So at the end of this book, the king actually has some profound moment where the purpose of life snaps into focus. He tried everything else. He lived the good life. He was able to have everything you ever wanted in this life and more. And he found it to be a dead end. Everything that he tried, it was all empty. But at the end of this writing, he states this. Something comes into focus for the king, and he realizes that his purpose is directly tied to his Creator, God. This is his conclusion at the end of the book. This is Ecclesiastes 12. He says, "The conclusion when all has been heard is fear God and keep His commandments, because this applies to every person. For God will bring every act into judgment, everything which is hidden, whether it is good or evil." So after tasting everything that this life had to offer, the king concluded that his ultimate purpose was to fear God and keep His commandments. And his rationale for this purpose was the reality of a future judgment that is to come. Now, I mentioned in the last video that this good news message contains the most satisfying joy, the highest joy you could ever experience. But before we get to that joy, it makes sense to pause and reflect upon this coming judgment that the king refers to. So, realizing our purpose begins with understanding we are called to honor God, obey His commandments. And before we do that, let's pause and think about this judgment to which the king refers. And we will do that in the next video.